Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Origins. My name is Jace. Just gonna let some people pile into the live before we get going here. Pack a little bit of herbal herbs in the beast pipe. I'm on like day 2 of an intense parasite cleanse and fast, so I might be a little bit loopy, but the herbs are helping me get through it. And I'm excited to share my results with that. So we're gonna get into the parasite cleansing and what I've experienced and like how I think you guys could benefit from similar kinds of cleanses and things like that, and what exactly I did. And then we're gonna get into NFTs and how you can mint your own NFTs, which is something a lot of people have been asking about lately. How can I go about making my own artwork and putting it out there? So we're gonna talk about that because the new Sologenic marketplace built on XRP is really quality and gonna be great for that. And it's set up perfect for new people basically to come in and new artists to make NFTs. So we're gonna talk about that. Venus went direct today from retrograde, so if you're into astrology at all, maybe you've been having a little bit of troubles in your love life or your emotional life, or the past couple weeks have been kind of emotionally turbulent, especially for relationships and partnerships, potentially because of Venus retrograde. So we're direct today, and I notice a big difference. So yeah, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then what else do we have? Canada, supporting Canada and the truckers. So we're gonna get into that. So I'm gonna start with actually a reading from the Oracle deck. We've got a shamanic healing Oracle card deck with the beautiful Triskelion on it. So we're gonna do a quick reading from that to kind of set the vibe. Speaking of which, I'm gonna grab my sage over here. Welcome, Beginning Hope. Burn a little bit of sage. It's been interesting times lately. The energies have been, I think, really conducive for healing and cleansing, which is why I've been going so hard on these parasite cleanses, because it's been making me feel really good, and I feel very, very clear and very much like all that mental monkey chatter that kind of sits in the back of your head has gone away. And really like realizing that that's the parasites is a pretty intense experience. So let's do a quick reading real quick. And then we'll jump into more of the other stuff. Again, we've got the shamanic healing Oracle deck. That's funny. Beginning Hope, you had 2 X's hit you up this morning. Yeah, so you might notice some funny shifts like that going on with Venus, because Venus is like the planet of love and relationships and all that stuff. So hopefully things are going to be more in alignment now for people. Not to say that things are negative when things are retrograde, but it's more catalyzing for bringing up like those kind of experiences and shadow work and that kind of stuff. All right, Source, God, Infinite Creator, Highest Lights. What can you tell us today? Do we have a message for everyone watching here? Everyone tuning in? Can we get a message from the highest light? Nice. Very fitting. All right, so the first card is New Day, which is exactly what it feels like. Like we were talking about Venus going direct, and I'm feeling this very much with this parasite cleanse, and feeling like I'm actually getting kind of my mind back and my body back in a way, my clarity back. Let's read what it says. A new day enables us to see in a brand new light We can see more clearly once the shadows of fear and doubt are brushed away by the light of creation. Once the initial shock of discovering the duality in a situation has worn off, you can find comfort that there is truly no bad or good, it just is. When this is realized, the possibilities for the outcome of a situation become endless. This card also advises to wait. Everything regarding this situation has yet to unfold. Interesting. I'm feeling that. It feels like, it really does feel like new cycles, new timelines are in the air. And oh my God, there's a bee that just landed on my phone. That's so funny. It's the first bee I've seen in months here. That's a good sign, you guys. A bee landed right here. I wish I could show you. So yeah, new day. And then the other card is forgiveness. So that kind of goes hand in hand often when we're starting like these new cycles and beginning anew. We have to really like let go and forgive of the old. And that's a big thing with the Parasite cleanses too, is you learn that a lot of what we're holding on to is this emotional density from emotional trauma of the past, but then it's locked in the body in a physical state as physical density in cells and the fat and the tissues. And then with these parasites and these other critters that are not good for us, it's like they are the catalyst for holding that emotional trauma that we experienced. And then when we deal with the it's like you can approach it from either end, but ultimately you have to deal with both. I think you can approach it initially from the energetic clearing end, and clearing the mind and the psyche and meditating and approaching it from that angle. But a lot of times you may have to approach it from the physical cleansing end first, and then use the intention of the clearing of the mind and of the psyche in conjunction with, say, fasting and parasite cleansing. So that's something that I found is really, really powerful. And let me just read this before I get too much on a tangent of I'm like moving too fast. We were talking about the forgiveness card, and then I'll get more into the parasite stuff. So, it has been said forgiveness is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Forgiveness of others, but also forgiveness of self. We are the most critical and judgmental of ourselves. This inner critic does so much more harm than criticism that comes from others. Forgive yourself for trusting others and getting hurt, for not knowing, for not seeing, for not believing. You are human and you are growing and learning. Human perfection is rooted in imperfection. This card indicates the need for forgiveness in the situation asked about. So really it's so important, like the forgiveness of self, when you think about it, like the law of one says, we are all each other, right? So when you, like a good meditation is to look at someone else and see them as yourself. So when you approach things from that perspective and you see other people as other versions of yourself, it's a lot easier to realize that forgiveness of the self is forgiveness of the other person and vice versa. And that comes really like forward when you're doing these kind of cleanses and you have to deal with this emotional, energy and trauma and density. So I think those are really fitting cards, and it's especially the New Day card. That's exciting, and that's the energy I'm feeling. So specifically, I'm going to be making a video about the parasite cleanse that I did and specific kind of parasite, but there's one in particular. There's something that people call ropeworm, and this is a relatively new kind of parasite. It's not a traditional worm-like parasite that you would see in the body. It's more of a mucus biolayer, almost candida-like substance. And the truth is that no one really knows what it is. Science has not discovered yet what it is. It's kind of suppressed actually, because a lot of the health organizations will try to slough off this parasite and say that it is just your intestinal lining that's physically coming out. And this is often most paired when you see them talking about MMS, because if you guys are familiar with MMS, chlorine dioxide, it's a very controversial thing in the mainstream media, I think, because it is so effective. And I've approached it with a lot of discernment and caution myself, but I've found very successful results with the MMS. The mainstream media will try to say that, the MMS is industrial strength bleach and things like that, and it's actually used as a water purifier. Like if you buy a survival kit with water purifier, say on Amazon or survival website, oftentimes it's chlorine dioxide that's in the water. So this is something that they discovered, that a guy named Jim Humble discovered back when he was doing expeditions in the Amazon, I think, and he gave this to someone who had malaria and other parasites, and it cleared it up like that. And ever since then, people have found amazing recovery and success with healing chronic symptoms. And people call it MMS, which miracle mineral solution is what that stands for, but it's not really a miracle within itself. It's not a cure-all like the media will try to say people say it is, but it is a great tool and catalyst for helping you cure your chronic diseases and symptoms. But like with anything, it takes the mental kind of determination and the willingness to work with, say, the emotions and things that come up when you're doing these cleanses. So this rope worm is something that people have found through multiple types of parasite cleanses, which is why it's not an MMS specific thing, because yeah, you saw the cat. People who will do water fasting for a couple weeks will notice these things come out of them. And what it looks like is this gets a little graphic and gross, but fortunately we're not showing any pictures here. I'm just going to describe it. But it comes out as a mucusy, stringy thing in the stool. And it can often be accompanied with like marble kind of sized stools that are really dense. And for some reason they are often seen together when passing after these cleanses. And so it comes out as a mucus, and a lot of people will think it's just, if they don't really pay attention, they'll think it's just like a mucus, natural kind of thing, or some people will think it's like a bad thing. But what most people find is that everyone I've talked to, everyone that I've seen online, like tons and tons of forums and YouTube videos and comments of people saying that when they got these things out of their body, they experienced massive amounts of relief for their chronic symptoms. So it's like whatever these things are, whether they're organic or they're coming from, something that's man-made, or it's some kind of fungus, or it's some kind of bacteria colony, it's something that is colonizing in people's bodies, and almost everybody has it to a degree, I think. And when you start really working on the cleansing and focusing on it, and for me, combining with fasting is what really did it. I had to fast when doing it to actually see results. Normal parasite cleanses or MMS wouldn't give me the results. I had to basically starve whatever it was and then feed it with a poison that would kill it. So one of the other things I've been doing is garlic, raw garlic. So for the past day, that's what I've really been doing. I haven't been doing the MMS route, just pure natural herbs, like wormwood, psyllium, husk, the typical kind of herbs that would be parasite cleansers combined with raw garlic. And can also put a little bit of sweetener sometimes to kind of draw them out, and then hit them with the garlic or whatever else. And on doing that, I found today, literally less than 2 hours ago, crazy amounts of just toxic, I don't even know what it was, but it should not be staying in my body, the stuff that came out of my body. And you'll find that a lot of people, when they do these cleanses, talk about that, just kind of almost stuff, it's stuff that's been stuck in the body for a very long time, from processed foods, processed sugars, meats, everything, things that we're not supposed to eat. Because a lot of times people will say, oh, well, your body has the ability to cleanse itself from these things, which it's supposed to, but the body is not meant to be eating all these toxic things that we consume as a culture, generally. So doing that is really important. Mucoid plaque cleanses is really good. That's something I've been looking at getting a professional cleanse for, because I had a friend that did a mucoid plaque cleanse. And same kind of idea, right? Like the plaque that builds up in the mucous membranes in the gut. And what I found actually was, I think that what I passed, say this morning, was very similar to what people would see when they do a mucoid plaque cleanse. And I think I just did it through the herbs and the garlic with the fasting. So yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And this ropeworm stuff is really interesting, because it is so controversial, and it's not, if you have this in your stool and you send it in for testing, they're not going to come back with a positive result that you have parasites, because it is, whatever it is, it's information about it is suppressed, but people on the internet have managed to like talk about it and share their experiences and the relief of their chronic symptoms. So whatever these things are, I think they're literally parasiting off the gut, and it creates chronic symptoms in different parts of the body, like back pain, migraines, unhealthy skin, eczema, things like this, that people think are just things that they're stuck with. But a lot of times it's because of these critters in the gut that are leaching vital nutrients from us. And a lot of times with that mucoid plaque, we're not even able to adequately digest the nutrients that we are eating. So one, they're getting sucked by parasites, but two, the mucoid plaque barrier is preventing proper digestion and absorption of the nutrients that we're feeding ourselves. So it's really important to do these cleanses and be aware, and also to listen to your body with it, not to blindly do a cleanse just because me or someone else recommended it. It's really important to be in tune enough with your body to know how your body's reacting, and also to expect certain results. Like when you are doing the parasites, there's a die-off period, and during this die-off they release lots of toxins that get into the bloodstream, and that'll cause symptoms that seem to be negative on the surface, that maybe people will stop because they're like, oh, this is hurting my body. So having the knowledge going into it, but also being in tune enough with your body to make sure that you're not pushing yourself too far or hurting yourself, or say taking something that isn't working with your body. Like garlic might not work for everybody, MMS might not work for everybody, but there is something out there that will work for you. You just have to kind of be in touch with your intuition when you're doing it to know how your body's responding. Yeah, Son of Bear, black walnut. Yeah, if you're collecting black walnuts yourself, that's awesome. That's really cool. If you're not able to get your own, what I recommend is going to your local health store or just online, probably Amazon even. Black walnut husk is really, really good and really easy to take too. The black walnut husk essential oil. And you basically just put a dropper of it in your water, and it tastes a little earthy, but it's like not as bitter as other stuff, and it goes down really well. And that'll help get rid of parasites as well. Voxor, how long did I fast for? So currently I'm still fasting. I'm doing liquids. I did have like black coffee this morning, so I'm doing like diatomaceous earth and things like that. So but other than that, I've been going for probably about 40 hours now. So what I would recommend doing, what I do is build up with intermittent fasting, which is just going for 16 hours without eating. So if you're not already doing that, then stop eating around whatever you would normally stop eating, around 6, 7, 8, even 9 or later, but make sure that the next day you're not eating until 16 hours after your last meal or snack. So even a snack late at night will throw that off, because you want to put the body into a state of ketosis and then eventually autophagy, where the cells are recycling and regenerating themselves. But I think autophagy takes more like 18 hours. So what I did after building up my intermittent fasting kind of tolerance and getting to the point where like my stomach wasn't hurting from intermittent fasting, which took about, I'd say, at least a year of really working at it, and not being consistent totally at it every day, but a couple times a week, making sure I was getting that solid 16. And then from there you can try, eat your dinner one day, go to bed, and then wake up, and the next day go that entire day without eating, and then go to bed, wake up, and then have like a smoothie for breakfast that next day and resume kind of your eating. And on the day that you're doing the day off, take raw garlic, take your parasite cleanse herbs, things like that, and that 1-2 punch will really help. And I find that like a lot of people talk about taking these cleanses and they're doing it for days or even weeks, but I think it's because they're eating so much that they're not seeing the results, and the parasites are just still getting their nutrients, and they're eating you know, enough that it's outweighing the herbs and stuff from the cleanse. So the cleanse isn't really doing anything. So starving the parasites and then hitting them with that toxin for them is what I found to be the most effective. And that way you don't have to, you know, do the thing for weeks on end. I think some protocols call for weeks on end of, you know, taking herbs and stuff. But if that's more your speed and you want to start with that, by all means try it. It's like to each their own, and everybody's body is different. Everybody reacts differently. So there's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of method for these things. Is this a rerun? No, I know I talked about parasites last time, but it's just like after seeing what came out of my body today, I was like so astounded, and then learning about these rope worms and stuff, and I think it's like an epidemic in the culture. I also went to China a couple years ago and very likely could have picked up stuff when I was in China. So yeah, I think I'm going to be making a shorter, more succinct video about this, and then talking about like exactly my protocol, and maybe even showing pictures. I found it really helpful when other people showed pictures online so I could compare. So even though it's pretty nasty, like, you know, it's all just the human body and it pretty much all looks the same coming out of us. So yeah, beginning hope. So yeah, try the fast, and just, you know, if your body's able to do intermittent fasting already, try just that day off, and don't overwhelm yourself with, you know, taking too much. But while you're fasting, just, you know, have that whatever you're taking, and hopefully you'll see better results. So moving on. The other thing, astrology-wise, so we talked about Venus coming direct, right? So if you missed this in the beginning, Venus has been retrograde. Venus is the planet of love, relationships, personal relationship with the self, but relationships with others too, but generally seen as like, you know, the planet of love. And so it's been in retrograde, and there's been a lot of kind of shadow work and chaotic energy for some people around relationships, both with the self and with romantic relationships, friendships, family. And now that it's going direct, it could mean that things are going to be a little more harmonious, and I'm already noticing that today. So the other thing astrology-wise that I found interesting is that Pluto is coming to the exact same point that it was in during the American Revolution, July 4th, in 1974. Oh my gosh, that's like the first time I haven't been able to remember the exact year of the revolution. 1970, what am I saying? 1776. Yeah, I'm a little loopy, I told you. I haven't eaten in over a day. July 4th, 1776, 1976. So Pluto basically has done a complete orbit since that point. And people like Kanye are, I guess, kind of hyping up that date, February 22nd, 222, I guess is the exact date that Pluto is supposed to come full around. So basically what that means is we could see similar energies to that which we saw during the American Revolution, which is pretty crazy because, as Voxor is saying right now in the chat, we have this whole thing with the Canadian truckers and this almost revolution that's going on against Trudeau in Ottawa, Canada. So if you're out of the loop on this, basically truckers from all over Canada and now the United States, thousands of truckers are making their way across the country, both countries, to the capital in Ottawa, and they're gonna just post up there, and they're gonna be there until some kind of action is seen in terms of the lockdowns and the mandates and things like that, because obviously Canada has kind of turned into